Having won multiple Academy Awards, Jessica Lange is best known for her long and varied film career. But CBS This Morning co-host Anthony Mason traveled out to the actress's home state of Minnesota to discuss her lesser-known artistic passion.
What prompted you finally to pick up a camera?
I think it was when my children were little, and I thought, I want to, document this not just with snapshots and Kodak, and I want to actually do portraits of them as they grow. And so I taught myself, really. It was one of the things that immediately felt necessary in my life. Yeah.
Why do you think it gave you that feeling?
It was such a perfect antidote to being an actor and being observed and being photographed and filmed and watched and judged. And suddenly I could be completely anonymous behind the camera.
All right, so you will hear more of their conversation tomorrow on CBS This Morning Saturday. But for now, we have Anthony Mason right here to talk more about the book, the conversation you have with Jessica Lange. We didn't get a chance to really see her pictures in it. How would you describe her pictures?
Well, they're very intimate. I mean, the book that she's just published, she's also got a show going on in New York City at the Howard Greenberg Gallery, which has got, I think, another week or so to run, and I encourage you to see it. But it's called Highway 61. She's from Minnesota. She'd started taking pictures really in Minnesota as her kids were growing up, and she loved the area. Then she moved to New Orleans for a time, and she shot photographs down there as well. That's actually in Minnesota right there. That's at a state fair in Minnesota, a couple of very hot days.
Wow, that looks timeless.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's the 50s.
Yeah.
This was a scene down in New Orleans. These are just things that literally catch her eye. She describes photography as, I said, it's very intimate. And she said, well, photography is very emotional for me. She said, it's like an instantaneous emotional reaction to something. And she had the idea for the book because she had all these photographs from around Minnesota and down in New Orleans. And they're connected by Highway 61, which runs right through 8 states down the middle of the country. And so she decided to take trips and go off the road and take photographs in places off the highway. And that's where all these photographs come from.
I love that. The other thing that sort of jumped out, just with the sampling that we saw there, are the faces.
Yes.
They're intense.
Yeah.
Some of them are looking directly at her.
Yeah.
She's a big celebrity. She can sort of almost float above it all. To take a picture, like look at that picture. To take a picture of that young man, you have to get out of your car. You have to walk over. You have to connect.
Yes.
Was that tough for her?
I think you heard her describe how one of the things she likes about photography is she can kind of. Behind the camera, she's no longer being judged. She can sort of hide. And I asked her, I said, a lot of these are basically what you call street photography. I said, can you be sort of inconspicuous? And she said, well, the places where I go, yeah, I kind of can. And she said, sometimes people figure out who I am, but a lot of times they don't. And in some of those shots, which were directly, the person's looking right at him, I said, did you ask? And she said, yeah, actually I did. And she said, but I just loved the face. And there was something so giving, and I said, these pictures feel like a gift sometimes, the expressions people give you, and she said, that's the way I look at it.
She talked about being behind the camera and not being judged, but then now she has a show and she's had several books. I mean, now you're putting that piece of expression out there to be judged.
Yeah, I think she started becoming more serious about it after a time. She said, look, I'm not a photojournalist. There she is on the shore of Lake Superior, sort of, looking for shots. She said, I didn't, I don't take myself that seriously, but she's serious about the way she takes pictures. And she's done several books now. I'm not sure which number this latest one is, but and like I say, she's got a show here in the city, so the photography world's taking her seriously too.
Often the picture says as much about the subject as it does about the person taking the picture, right? This is what they find interesting in the world. This is the image that they think tells a whole story about the country or the state or whatever. What do her images say about her?
One of the things that she spends a lot of time shooting along some of the towns along Highway 61 is, in a lot of cases, they're towns that have seen better days. And she said, I'm interested in as much as what's gone as what's still there. And so they're kind of haunting a lot of her photographs and wistful in some ways. And for a world that she grew up in, because she grew up in a small town called Cloquet, Minnesota, and moved around a lot with her family. She thinks of we spent time in Duluth, which she sort of, what she went to as a kid, which was the big city nearby, and she still thinks of as home. And she's traveled a ton and keeps coming back to Minnesota because it's the one sort of steady thing in her life. She's got a cabin up there. But it's very, she loves the small town scenes. They mean a lot to her, clearly, and you feel it in the photographs.
Do you think she has another book in her?
Oh yeah, I think so. She's actually, she told me she was working on, she's fascinated by gestures that women make with their hands. And she's gone back and looked through all of her old photographs to sort of create a theme for what might be her next book. She loves sort of small, intimate things.
When you just said that, I thought, that's the sort of thing that an actress focuses on. When they're trying to build a character, it's often the little gestures that make a character seem more real. So it makes sense that she would zone in on that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I'm really looking forward to it this Saturday. Anthony Mason, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Anne-Marie.